What's up guys, Josiah LaRue here. So today we're going to be talking about iOS 8 beta. So yeah, a few weeks ago I did a video about iOS 8 beta and how I was going to be testing it out on my phone. Well, here's my review of iOS 8 beta and what I think about it. I did download it a couple days after it came out and I've been using it over the last couple months. So far we are now in iOS 8 beta version 4 and version 5 is supposed to be coming out next week. What are my thoughts and opinions? Well, in a nutshell, iOS 8 is a great operating system, but I don't think it should be called a version of iOS. More like a big update. There's not enough features in iOS 8, I think, to really make it the next version. It's really just making changes to iOS 7 that make it more functional and include things that kind of should have been there before. But let's talk about this now. It's also going to be somewhat of a rant video because, let me be upfront right now, the iOS 8 beta for me has been a horrible experience. I've done beta since iOS 4, so 5, 6, 7. And in betas before, I knew that they were going to be buggy, but they were never this buggy. The first 3 iOS 8 betas were just horrible. I was constantly resetting my phone, apps were constantly crashing, I had to open up 3 or 4 times just to get it to run. I would have to restart my phone every day or so, and it was just getting to be unusable. Then, through a myriad of circumstances, the wireless on my phone ended up not working, so I had to restore my phone and completely lose everything. Thankfully, to iCloud and through other third-party backups, I was able to get most of my data off, but I had to create an entirely new version of my phone. And after that, a lot of the problems did go away. Right about that time, iOS updated to beta 4, and most of my problems have actually gone away now. My phone is actually quite usable and I do enjoy the features. That is the one thing I will say about iOS 8. Great features, but it's not quite there to be called an OS. So let's talk about it. So when Apple announced iOS 8 at WWDC 2014, there was a lot of fanfare and it was pretty hyped up. And not to say that it shouldn't be, because anything from Apple tends to be a pretty big deal, and there were certainly a lot of really cool features coming out of this new version of iOS, but it really has yet to trickle down to developers, I feel. There's only a few features that us developers have actually been able to get a hold of and actually start using, and for me they weren't really that huge except for QuickType. That is the one exception that I think will probably make iOS a lot better, the predictive keyboard. It's great, and yet it can be really annoying. Here's why. It is super predictive. It learns how I talk and to individual people, so it starts predicting my conversation. I've had it complete my conversation without me even needing to type. You just tap the word and it predicts the next one, and I've had it complete full sentences. Great on that front. Yet it is too predictive at times. I will start typing a specific word, particularly for me in the tech industry, we use a lot of acronyms or words that are not always spelled normally. Apple likes to think it knows how you spell things. It can be very irritating at times as it'll start auto-correcting. And if you're not paying attention and click send, then you have to go back and message the person saying, sorry, this is actually what I meant. And it has gotten me in a couple awkward situations. The solution to this is on the left of the 3 predicted words that they have. There's the original word that you typed. You have to click this, otherwise it'll auto-correct it. And if you're going really fast, you won't always see that, or you're not always paying attention, you're just getting your message down. It'll auto-correct it to things that aren't even close to what you're trying to say. So Apple, you need to be able to be, and I'm not sure quite how they would do this, but they need to fine-tune it so it doesn't always auto-correct when it doesn't recognize what it is. I mean, if it's clearly just gobbledygook, then yeah, try auto-correcting to a good word. But if it's something, and maybe they just need to expand their dictionary, but if it's some word, particularly something in like the tech industry where we use acronyms or whatever, they need to allow that to go through because that is what the person's trying to say, not just random garbage. So it's a cool feature, but it does need work. And speaking about keyboards, Apple really hyped it up about third-party keyboards, but so far they're not here yet. Hopefully they will be by the time this device comes out in October alongside the new iPhone, but so far, no real word. A couple of developers said that they're working on it, and I think a few people have gotten their hands on it, but not out yet, so I'm kind of disappointed about that. And a bunch of the other features really aren't there as well. I mean, there's icons for them, or there's like placements for them, but they're just not here yet. Health Kit, nothing really to do there, it's just an app. The design, they talked about the interactive notifications. Those have not showed up at all. So that's kind of disappointing. Like, I would love to be able to tap on a notification and just deal with it instead of having to go in the app like everything else. But supposedly it's coming. We still have yet to see that. Spotlight is pretty cool, as it actually has gotten drastically smarter. It not only searches for the apps or things that I'm looking up, but also my notes and on the web. So oftentimes I can just search for something and it'll pull it up right on Safari. So that is a cool feature. The messages things was cool, as it was a nice in-house versioning to Snapchat, but for me personally, I haven't used it, and I don't necessarily think that I will be. I mean, it's kind of cool, and maybe if I wanted to send a voice message through a text message, which just seems kind of awkward in the first place, I can certainly do it now, but it's not really that great of a feature, I don't think. And it's not like they're the first. I mean, within a few days, Facebook had come out with a version of it in Facebook Messenger, and now Android's doing it in Android L. So everybody can do it now, whether they want to or not. So I guess that's a cool thing. Now the industry will be standardized again, but I don't think it's something that I'm going to be using. Maybe you guys will. Let me know in the comment box down below. Do you think you're going to be sending voice messages or video messages through your texting? Continuity, or where your iOS device syncs up with your Mac, is kind of just showing up in the last beta. There are now toggles for it and things you can set up, but it's not quite there yet, and it relies on OS X Yosemite. And from what I've been hearing from people, that beta isn't that stable either, and they're recommending putting it on developer machines or in virtual modes or other things, because if you install it as your default OS, you're going to have problems, a lot of crashes and other things. So I think maybe Apple rushed these updates a little, because the versions that they're releasing to developers historically have been pretty rock solid with just small things they need to tweak. These are major issues with stability and performance that they really got to work out in the next couple months as we're heading toward Goldmaster and final release. So Apple, they're working. We got some serious problems to fix. Siri has gotten a lot smarter in what it can do. I can just hold it up, it'll be listening to music, and it'll automatically Shazam it for me without me having to open up the app. So that's a cool feature. It is a lot smarter in what I can ask it and how it responds. It finds a lot of new stuff for me. But again, with the whole iOS 8 beta thing, it's not even available half the time, which gets really annoying, to the point where I haven't even been using Siri anymore. I just know it's not going to work most of the time, so I just go to the app and pull it up and use it the way I was before I ever had Siri. So hopefully they'll get that fixed, and hopefully it'll start being more reliable. One interesting thing about photos is kind of a pro and kind of a con. They have recover delete files. So when you delete a photo, it's not really deleted, it just goes into deleted images. So it's still on your phone. This got really annoying for me because I was shooting a lot of video during several events this summer, and I would delete it thinking, oh, now I have space to shoot more. No, it's just in deleted. So I gotta go manually over to the deleted folder and then manually check those. And sometimes that even doesn't work. You have to plug it into your computer and manually delete it that way. So it's been very frustrating when I can't get rid of stuff and I want to. And if you can't get rid of it, then it'll get put in your iCloud backup, and then your backup will get huge, and then you'll run out of iCloud storage space, which I'm guessing is what they're kind of doing to try and force you to upgrade. But this is really annoying. If people want to delete, let it delete. And I think they should have an auto purge on the recently deleted to be a lot sooner than it is, because I've had stuff that's in there from a really long time ago and it's still not deleted. So I like your recovery feature, but I think it should only be a few days to maybe a week. I mean, if people forget that they deleted something within a week, they don't need it. Just get rid of it. And particularly for large media files. I think if you click delete on a large media file, it should be deleted by the end of the day or when the new iCloud backup comes up. Because I think most people, when they're deleting stuff, they know whether they hit the wrong one or not. So having the recovery is nice, but if it can't get permanently deleted and it just continues to take up storage, it's defeating the purpose of delete. One nice thing I will say is the weather has definitely gotten updated. Even in the swipe down for notifications, iOS has a better overall weather. iOS has more information about your weather, and when you tap on it and open up the iOS weather app, switching over to the weather channel was by far the greatest decision they could have made for weather. Now they have far more information, it's far more accurate, and I like the little animations they have that depending on what weather you're currently having, it'll actually animate storm clouds or wind or sun or whatever. So kind of a cool aesthetic touch, but overall just very good data and it's very accurate. So that's great. The Yahoo weather was pretty 50-50. I mean, it could be saying it's sunny and it's raining on your head at the same moment. So good choice in switching to someone who actually knows how to do weather. One thing I will say that Apple has done great in this new update is the amount of control you have over your device. You can control battery usage, you can see how much battery is being used by each individual app, you can control location data, just your overall control on what apps do on your phone is way ahead of what they had in previous versions. So I definitely like that. And speaking of battery, I think I've actually gotten a little bit better battery life overall in using iOS 8 beta over iOS 7. iOS 7, my phone seemed to die relatively quickly, and now I can get maybe a half hour to an hour longer out of it. But only when you fine-tune your apps. Make sure that you're closing apps that use a lot of background, go into settings and disable a lot of the background stuff, location data, etc., stuff that uses up a lot of battery in the background even when you're not using the apps. When you do that and when you fine-tune stuff that you're not really using, you're going to get really great battery. When I just reinstalled my phone and just dumped all the apps back on there, it wasn't until I started fine-tuning, taking stuff off start and background and whatever, that I really got the fine-tuned performance out of battery life. So great job Apple in allowing me to control it and maximize my battery life. Of course, for a fully maximized battery life, just put your phone in airplane mode, but if you still want to receive notifications or whatever, make sure you fine-tune what you actually want to have or really need to have if you're on the go. So what are my final opinions? And this is kind of be somewhat of a rant, somewhat of a go Apple, etc. So here we go. iOS 8 should have been iOS 7.1 or 0.2 or whatever. It's a great update, but that's all it is, an update to iOS 7 with a few new features. It's nothing groundbreaking, and it's nothing that Apple should have said was a new version of iOS. It's just not there yet. It includes some cool features, keyboard, customization, handoff, but those three are really the only big ones, and those really could have been rolled out in a version 2.0 or whatever. Apple's done that before with iOS 6 and 7, adding features in just a large version update. That's really all they did. I mean, they added a little stylization in the UI and a couple other things, but it's not big enough to be called a new update. Apple, what were you thinking? I know you're trying to rush this to make sure you have a new version every year because that's the pressure that's been put on you by the people, but don't conform to the pressure. Apple has done things that have been revolutionarily stupid in the minds of the public, but for them have been great for business and for design. Apple does not rush things, or they used to not, but just produce rock-solid devices when they were done with them. Even if it seemed to be behind the curve, their device typically came out of the curve blowing everyone else away. So I'm kind of sad that Apple put their name on this as a new version of iOS. That being said, once people start downloading it and once people start using it, I think they'll be really impressed. As long as Apple fixes all the bugs by the time we get to Goldmaster and final release. There's just way too many right now, and I really hope they get these knocked out in the next month and a half to 2 months. Ever since I've hit iOS Beta 4 and I've reinstalled, my phone has actually become usable. Before that, it was not. I had to restart it all the time, apps crashed, just had a lot of problems. Now that I've restored it, it's actually been working great. I do like the features. The keyboard is really nice. The photo backup is nice. If I had a Mac, I think handoff would be really nice too, once they get OS X fixed as well. So overall, it's a great update. It's the way Apple should be progressing. They really took notice of what the jailbreak community wanted and stuck it all in a version of iOS. So in that instance, it's actually good. For me, I don't feel that I have to jailbreak this version of iOS to get more customization out of it, as pretty much everything I want to do is now stock. So for me, that's great. I don't have to worry about instability of a jailbreak or whatever. But as I said before, this shouldn't be a new version of iOS. It should just be an update. But what's done is done. iOS 8 coming out in the fall is going to be really good. I definitely recommend everybody should update to it so you can get the full use out of your iPhone. So yeah, overall, iOS 8, great features, but can be a little bit annoying at times as a beta, but hopefully by the time we get to public release, those problems will be cleared up and all we'll have is just an overall great operating system with some really cool features. The thing that I'm really looking forward to the most is the third-party keyboards such as Swipe. The predictive keyboard is nice, as I've said, but swiping makes typing even easier. So yeah guys, let me know in the comment box down below, what do you think of iOS 8 from what you've read or from what I talked about today? Are you going to be upgrading? And what do you think about the new features? Anything that really stands out to you? Let me know in the comment box down below. As always guys, you can watch last week's video here and you can check out what I talked about over here. Thanks for watching guys. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe down below and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!